I want to thank everybody for joining me again today. And today I'm going to talk about how to acquire physical wealth. Somebody requested me to talk about it, so I'm going to talk about it. Okay, first thing you got to understand, when you're manifesting physical wealth into the physical, people always wonder, why am I coming up short? Why I'm putting in for $1 million, but I'm only getting 100. And this is the part you're not going to hear much. You're only guaranteed tenfold of whatever you put into something. Now you're guaranteed that you can get a lot more. It could be way more, but you're guaranteed 10%, or not 10%, tenfold. Whatever you put in, you're guaranteed 10 times that amount back. Guaranteed that much. So if you want $1 million, you got to put in $100,000 worth of energy. Now, this is the kicker right here. What determines what's $100,000 worth of energy? That's your conscious mind. Determines that. The value of $100,000 in your conscious mind, whatever you hold at that value, that's the value. That's the amount of energy you got to put in order for subconscious to give it to you. So pretty much whatever energy you put into getting this $1 million, it's got to be whatever value of this energy. It's got to be $100,000 worth of energy going into it. Now you got to determine what's your value of $100,000, and you got to be prepared to put that amount of energy in. So what you should be meditating on is not getting the $1 million. What you should be meditating on is getting to a higher spiritual perception of things and spiritual connections with your higher selves. So, the more you get in tune with that, the less value physical material things will have on you. So but I'm going to stay on track here. In order to create the $1 million, you got to determine how valuable that is to you. You got to, really analyze it. Think about it. How big is $100 to me? How impossible do I believe it to be to get it? I would reject that kind of thinking if I thought it that way, but that's a good way to visualize it. But definitely reject it, send that to the junk folder and get rid of it, because you don't want to think ideas like that. What if I didn't? You always want to think I got. That's putting a little energy in itself. That's giving you a little motivation to drive a little bit farther at getting the things that you consciously want to acquire. So I'm gonna just step out there and say most people is gonna hold $100,000 very valuable. So in order to be able to get that amount of energy in, you got to come at this, in a very tactical way, in a very conscious, methodical way, because if you in that situation, all your programming is against it. So it really boils down to discipline. Can you discipline yourself to put the amount of energy in to get out what you want? So I'm going to break that down a little bit for you. I'm just going to attempt to give you an example on if I wanted to make $1 million, how would I do it? Okay. First of all, I would sit back, think about I got off track. You're not making $1 million. You're making $100,000. This is how much energy you got to put into it. So if you put in enough energy to make 100,000, you're guaranteed at least $1 million. So now we're going back to where I was. What can I do to make $100,000? And okay, what can be done to make $100,000? What type of things are being done to make $100,000? Okay, you're gonna have to do your research, find out what opportunities could make me $100,000. If you can't use your own creativity and come up with a way, I don't know, maybe a special craft you got or something, you could sell it on the internet. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter whatever it is. The point is, if you put the amount of energy into doing whatever you're going to do to make this $100,000, you're guaranteed $1 million back. You're guaranteed. Even though it may not look like your business is going that way, but you got to stick with it and you got to stay disciplined. Now, everybody may not need to start out saying I want $1 million. That, if you're barely swimming and about to drown, in debt, or figuring out how you're gonna pay the next light bill, then it's gonna be pretty hard for you to focus your mind on something like $1 million if it's hard to conceive getting that $300 or $400 to pay that light bill or water bill, whatever bill, if it's a struggle. If that's the case, first off, you should be the goal you should be shooting for is higher than sustainability. So, being able to not feel so threatened, because when you're in that threatened state and you're feeling the fear of what the physical is going to do to you, it's going to be hard to have spiritual growth. You got to be able to put yourself in a peaceful state. Now, a lot of people come to put themselves in this peaceful state in the chaos. A lot of people, everyone has their own path. Only thing I can do is tell you my experiences with them. And the way I've experienced this is the only way you only get tenfold the energy you put in something. So if you're shooting for $1 million, but you're only putting in $10 worth of energy because of your conscious value that you give it, that whatever value your conscious mind gives it Your subconscious mind makes it that hard for you to get. Think about it. Whatever you don't hold valuable in your mind, it's easy to get. I know that's kind of the way it is, though, but, that's the way it is. But back to what would I do? Okay. After I figure out, okay, this is the way I want to do this. This is something that I feel like I can attempt to do, because if you don't feel like you can do it, you can't do it. So you got to find something. I know this isn't much guidance, but you got to find something that you can do, you can control, that you can put the work into to determine how much value that is compared to the value that you hold for it in your conscious mind. So I would always say the best thing to do is focus on your spiritual growth at all times. And all the physical things start to lose value over time. And the more value they lose, the easier they are to get. But at that time, you really don't care too much about those kind of things anymore. It's kind of, I don't know, it's like you're chasing your tail. But to hurry up and get it, you just got to follow the rules, use the formula. You got to put that amount of energy into it. So if I'm going to just go out there and just say I was going to sell something. Okay, if I was going to sell something, how would I go about selling something to make me $100,000? So I'm back researching again. How do people sell things? Now, I would only go this route if I was a seller. Well, I guess on the internet nowadays, you don't have to be a seller by mouth. Just got to come up with creative ways to make people buy. So, whatever way you're going to make money. The point is, you got to sit back and write down and figure out, what can I do in particular to maybe draw a little bit more attention to it, to learn a little bit more about how to get it out in front of people, how to market it the right way. A lot of people can start this off until a month down the road they haven't seen any growth and haven't made $1. That's when they stop and start doing other things. So you only put, compared to how much value they held that $100,000 to be, excuse me, they only put in $2 or $3 worth of energy. So, that's guaranteed to them. It's coming. But that's, they put $2 or $3 in, maybe they'll get $11, $12 back. So, yeah, you get that, but excuse me, you'll get that, but you're far away from the million. So you got to think, if I'm holding this very valuable, I got to stick in there and pay the dues. You got to pay your dues. There's no free breakfast. You got to pay for it. So this video is out of time. I'm about to cut it off. Now I'm completely out of time. Love, life, prosperity, health to y'all.